flapping their wings faster than any other bird, having a faster metabolism than almost any other animal, and having some species that are among the smallest living vertebrates. The hummingbird has adapted to such extremes because they are probably the oldest nectivorous birds, meaning they have had over 40 million years to perfect the ability of living almost entirely off of nectar, and this pathway has made them gain abilities that make them truly unique among birds. Hummingbirds belong to a group of mostly acrobatic insect hunting birds known as Strysaurus, showing that hummingbirds descended from insectivorous ancestors, and this can still be seen today, as although they primarily eat nectar, all species of hummingbirds occasionally hunt insects as well. Within this group of birds, the hummingbird's closest living relatives are the swifts, that together form a group called the Apodiformes. Apodiformis translates to footless, as both swifts and hummingbirds have feet that are incredibly small and limited in function. For instance, neither bird are really capable of walking, and instead can only perch or awkwardly shuffle. And this is the price these birds have paid for lightweight bodies that have allowed them to become masters of flight. But of course, in their own ways. The other thing that links these birds is their wing bone structure. Although swifts have a slightly different wing shape to hummingbirds, they share a similar strange internal structure of having a small humerus attached to a relatively large wing. Compared to the vast majority of other birds, this arrangement almost looks as if they have a singular joint in their wing, but it makes it very easy for them to rotate their wings quickly. The swifts use their unique wing shape to perform the quick maneuvers required to pluck their agile insect prey out of the air, and hummingbirds use their unique wing shape to hover. Hummingbirds are able to hover by rapidly moving their wings up and down in a figure-of-8 motion, keeping them held in one place, and so having a wing joint that optimizes rotation is paramount to this way of flying. Swifts and hummingbirds had a common ancestor about 40 to 50 million years ago, and an amazingly well preserved and ancient bird fossil has been discovered from around this time period in Wyoming that shares features with both hummingbirds and swifts. It was called Eocypselus, and it too had long wings but a short humerus, and almost useless feet, like both of these bird groups. However, the bird didn't eat nectar, and most likely ate insects like swifts, and fossilized pigment show the creature would have had black feathers. This bird must have been close to the point when hummingbirds and swifts went their separate ways, and shows that hummingbirds started out not too different to swifts, before evolving to be nectivorous, and then all of their unique features followed this change. Nectar drinking offers many advantages for animals, as it provides an enormous amount of energy, but doesn't have to be hunted down before it can be enjoyed, like an insect. But also, many nectivorous animals pollinate the plants while drinking the nectar, meaning the plants have evolved to attract hummingbirds and help them get to the nectar. And so there has been a lot of coevolution between flowers and hummingbirds. Many different species of hummingbirds have beaks that correspond to taking nectar from a specific species of flower, like the sword-billed hummingbird that has a beak almost the length of its body, and can feed from flowers that are far too deep for the majority of hummingbirds, and the green hermit hummingbird that has a curved beak, meaning that it can feed on flowers that a straight-beaked hummingbird would struggle with. This coevolution has meant that many species of hummingbird can coexist without competing with one another. In the Andes in South America, for instance, there are over 100 species of hummingbirds crossing paths and coexisting despite basically filling the same niche. But nectar is a double-edged sword, and a lot of what defines hummingbirds are the extreme adaptations they have made to overcome the disadvantages that come with drinking nectar. Almost all birds can hover for a short period of time. Even large birds of prey like eagles will hover for a split second before landing or grabbing prey from the ground, and hummingbirds have just built on this, becoming hovering experts. Hovering by the flower would mean that they would be able to drink more before flying away, all without requiring a perch, creating a selective pressure to be able to hover for longer and longer. The issue is that hovering in one spot uses an incredibly high amount of energy, but hummingbirds counter this by significantly shrinking down in size, giving them more wing compared to their weight, increasing the efficiency of the hovering. The smallest species of hummingbird and the smallest bird weighs about 1 to 2 grams, and even the giant hummingbird weighs no more than a mouse. However, Even though their small sizes have made their hovering more efficient, they still require an enormous amount of energy. Luckily, sugary nectar provides hummingbirds with just that, but they have had to evolve an extreme metabolism to process it quick enough. Some species beat their heart at over 1,000 beats per minute, and have a metabolism up to 70 times faster than that of a human. This means in order to avoid starving, hummingbirds have to eat several times their body weight in nectar a day, which causes another problem. Hummingbirds have evolved to become so small to master hovering, but if they consume the required nectar to fuel their active lifestyle, its high liquid content would weigh them down too much. To get around this, hummingbirds have unbelievably fast working kidneys that can excrete large volumes of water from the nectar before it has a chance to weigh them down. In fact, it is normal for a hummingbird to urinate its entire body weight over the course of a day, which is about 30 times more than a human. So by living off such a readily available energy source and gaining the benefits that it offered, they had to adapt into the extreme animals we know them as today. The earliest hummingbird that would be recognizable to us today first appeared in the fossil record about 30 million years ago. It had a long nectar-probing beak and a wing shape very similar to modern-day hummingbirds, that meant that it was most likely able to hover, and it was called Eurotrochilus inexpectatus. Although today's hummingbirds are exclusively found in North and South America, this little bird was actually discovered in the rocks of southern Germany, and the name Eurotrochilus inexpectatus literally translates to unexpected European hummingbird. Since its discovery, several other fossilized hummingbirds have been found in France and Poland, showing that hummingbirds were buzzing around Europe millions of years before the earliest fossils of hummingbirds were found in the Americas. So it is possible that hummingbirds as we know them today actually originated in Europe, and then migrated over to the Americas. But if hummingbirds originated in the Old World, why aren't they still there? All of the species in the Eastern Hemisphere went extinct sometime in the last 30 million years, and this may have been because of competition with other nectivorous birds or climate change, but at this point there isn't enough information to know for sure, and it is still a mystery. However, what is for sure is that hummingbirds show how no obstacle or challenge is hard enough for natural selection to find a workaround. The story of hummingbird evolution is how they have reaped the advantages of drinking a natural energy drink and then have had to evolve alien features to quell the disadvantages that have now gone on to define them.